Okay, let's hope this one doesn't screw up as badly. Cutting back to the field, Miko is on an outlap now. The Ferrari into the pits, wingless on a hot lap, Deathwing on a hot lap. Solar and Silikius both into the pits. Season sitting on a comfortable provisional pole position unless Ardington finds some mega time in the Haas. They only really were able to do one lap as of yet. As Deathwing comes around, he is on a invalidated lap, and I think we'll have just enough time to be able to get a second run in coming out of the pits. 3 minutes 40 on the clock. I think he should be able to do so. Silikius the first coming out of the pits to start their final lap. Should have a pretty clean track for the Williams. Every other driver into the pits waiting for the clock to run down before coming out. Yep, absolutely no one is budging. Actually, Miko is into the pits. I thought he might have been coming out, but he is in. So Williams is still out on track, warming up the tires. So we wait. The drivers are seeming to come out now at the 3-minute mark. You can cut Japan quite a lot on your outlap to be able to get around the track a bit quicker. So drivers are going to wait as long as possible to get as clear of a track as they can. So we have, it looks to be Solar and Wingless out on track for their final outlaps. Silikius looks to come and cross the line to start their final lap. Williams looking for time and a good result in their first league race. They don't seem to have the pace, but they can have the consistency. They can easily have a good Grand Prix. So Williams comes through the S's and the end of Sector 1. We'll see if he's up on his time or not. He is up on his time. He has found a 10th as it stands. Looks very nice and tidy through there. So we should see a couple of drivers starting their last hot lap, that of the Red Bull and McLaren, in just a moment. See a large spread of drivers through Sector 1, so we will see if they are able to space out properly before they start their laps. Let me just close one thing real quick, chat. See if this will also help the lag. Why are you yelling at me? There we go. Okay, see if that'll help. So Silikius looks to end his final run. He would have time to do another, but he will not have the battery. He puts his Williams at a 30.8. He did find a little bit of time on that last lap, but not enough to make a difference. So we see Solar and Wingless, the Ferrari of your mom, all on hot laps to end their session. Looking on board with the V-Carb, coming towards the end of Sector 2, we'll see if he is able to find time and be able to push himself through the back of the field. Midfield all bunched together as it stands. He is up by a full second on this lap. This would put him towards the front of the field if he can keep it clean. Very nicely done from the V-Carb as it stands. I am used to this driver being in the Red Bull, and now he's in the V-Carb, so It's quite tricky to get it correct, as he actually lost some time into Sector 3, but he still leaves it there with a 27.9 as Shawarma retired from the session through the S's for some reason. Not quite sure why. He might have been just down too much on time, so unable to complete his lap. Wingless finished off with a 28.3 in the McLaren. Deathwing looking at the back of the field somewhat before he will finish off his lap. Zizen out for a third lap, and the Aston Martin, looking to push himself even further, is actually on an invalidated lap, 3/10 up. Not quite sure what had happened. Ardent Princess found some time with a 10th found, and Jesus jumps him with a bit over a 10th, and it puts himself P2. That puts us with Zizen as the first round pole position sitter with Jesus in the McLaren P2, Haas with Ardent Princess P3. Very nicely done from Zizen with that lap time. No one was able to come and contest him. Jesus and Ardent looking to have a nice fight for P2 as it stands, unless they can put pressure on to Zizen over race pace. Solar finding the time at the end of the session, found his V-Card P4. Shawarma couldn't find time on his last lap, P5. Ferrari of Your Mom is P6. 7th is Miko in the Mercedes. Wingless P8 in the opposite McLaren. Deathwing P9 in the Red Bull. The midfield all bunched together with Sleekiest bringing up the rear. So now the drivers will set their tire pressures, change their wings, and their off-throttle diff, even some of them. So we are just waiting for the session to start now. It will be just a moment. As we have 5 lights coming on for the round 1 of ULC T1. Is a good start from Zizen in the Aston Martin, but an even better start from Solar in the V-Carb. He jumps that of Jesus right away. Jesus looking to have a terrible start as Zizen gets away properly. The Haas of Shawarma goes wide from the Ferrari, leaving Miko able to get through wheel to wheel with him. The McLaren struggling for position out back. It looks to be Zizen and Ardent Apprentice getting away nicely with Solar picking up a provisional podium off of Jesus' bad start. Not quite sure what had happened to that McLaren, but he is now from P2 all the way down to P8 as we see the Mercedes of Miko going wide, laying through both McLarens and possibly the Williams. The Williams putting him under pressure, backs off it as that was an iffy spot to get it done. Shawarma going wide a second and third time, accidentally spins himself into Jesus, putting the Williams back on scene with these two drivers unable to find a way through. Shawarma and Wingless made the contact there, not Shawarma and Jesus. Shawarma also struggling to find the grip on these medium tires off the start of this race at pressure from the Williams behind. Ardent Princess looking to put the pressure onto Zizen coming into Sector 3. The top 3 getting away cleanly so far. Deathwing notably was like P9, has found himself P3 now. He is absolutely flying through the field. Not quite sure how he was able to jump all those drivers, but he has gotten away cleanly and is definitely profiting from this. As Solar takes back the position into the braking zone over the Red Bull, sister teams are fighting it out. Ardent looking to put the pressure on Zizen. Zizen not wanting this at all. This is exactly what the Aston Martin wouldn't want, is for Ardent to find the race pace and put the pressure on through the race. As they are now pulling away from P3 by almost over a second now. Outback Sleekiest got through that of Shawarma on the backfield. Shawarma not having the greatest race once again. Unfortunate for him. Deathwing still hanging on to the back of the V-Carb, keep the pressure on and wait for a mistake to profit. Jesus climbing back up from P8 up to P6, now putting the pressure on the Ferrari for position at the end of Sector 1. Will he make the move? Ferrari goes defensive, leaving the McLaren no room to go. As Shawarma gets through the Williams out back, as the Williams seems to have gone off track through Sector 1. Ardent still hanging on to the back of Zizen and Deathwing on the back of Solar. Solar will be watching his rearview mirror closely. He has raced Deathwing before and knows that he is a very good driver and can keep his car clean to the end. Ardent Prentice now will have DRS for the first time on the main straight. Japan, Suzuka, the only track that I can think of off the top of my head is Solar has gone wide. Solar goes wide off the square-ended corners, putting Deathwing P3 without a contestant. Solar looking to take the move back, has nowhere to go. Ardent Prentice will have DRS for the first time down the main straight, too wide into braking zone once more. Solar takes back P3. It might be a wing difference between the drivers as the Ferrari has shunted the Red Bull off the back end of Solar. Not quite sure what had happened there with the Ferrari. Might have missed his braking zone. Ardent unable to catch up to Zizan at the end of the corner. Jesus making his way through the Ferrari into turn 1. Jesus looking to climb back up through the field to take back his podium position that he once started on. Ardent Prentice still hanging on to the back of Zizan within DRS critically is what he will need. They are 3 seconds ahead of P3 as it stands. Deathwing catching back up the gap after being pushed off by the Ferrari. So we have a yellow flag for wingless in Sector 1. Lost the car somewhere along the way. Let's take a look at the tires that the drivers are opting to run on. It seems to be a 50-50 split through the field. However, notably, it is the hard runners that are on the back side of the field and the mediums on the front side of the field. So that could be some potential strategy calls that we will be looking at later on through the race, as Ardent Prentice seems to have made a mistake or something and is 1.4 away from Zezin. Not quite sure if he made a mistake or Zezin decided to put the throttle down. Solar out back at threat from Deathwing, and Deathwing at threat to Jesus. We have a DRS train for P3 as it stands, which is beautiful to see. Contention for the podium with the front runners just running away as it stands. Jesus hunting down Deathwing, unable to make a move as Deathwing also has the DRS from the car head. So they're looking to pull these drivers closer to Ardent if he is able to put the pace up. Out back, Miko falling off this DRS train, losing out to DRS on the next lap possibly. Wingless on the back of Shawarma after making that mistake is looking to take position from Haas. Both cars have doubled cars in the race, which will be critical for the WCC. As Jesus finds his way through, no, your mom found his way through Jesus. That is a sentence I didn't think that I would be saying, but the Ferrari has made up a position over the McLaren, which will put Miko back into the DRS after that squabble. Ardent not making the gap smaller or bigger as it stands to the race leader, but he is definitely pulling away from Solar. This could be a strategy call between Zezin and Ardent if they can get the one stop to go. As we see Jesus going wide once again on the hard tire. Jesus and Shawarma both going very wide throughout the course of the race so far. Not quite sure what is going on behind those cars. As Miko is ways off the back end of him, just trying to hang out for the DRS. Deathwing in the best position possible to make up a position as Solar does make a mistake into the chicane. Deathwing might be able to get a better exit, but that V-carb just pulls away with his traction on the exit. He will have the DRS, but it seems to be Deathwing might be running higher wings than that of Solar, and it's just a slinky effect taking place. As Solar just riding as comfortably as possible to try and not make a mistake, as he knows Deathwing will be all over him if he does. Zezin now 2 seconds ahead of Ardent Prentice, the reigning champion. Like I said, Ardent will have to find some serious pace if he wants to catch and remain the reigning champion. The Ferrari looking to gain another position over the Red Bull if he is able to make a mistake following the V-carb. As Jesus has a poke down the inside of the Ferrari through the hairpin, he finds nothing, loses the rear a little bit, and it keeps it going. Looking through this DRS train, still no positions changing hands. No one yet to make a mistake. Giving Zizan a chance. Yes, you are, Baha. Yes, you are. Yeah, no, Zizan and Ardent just running away from this pack for P3, but it is a close fight for P3 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cars in the running. Shawarma and Wingless both struggling on this race start and found themselves off the back foot of this field. Shawarma, who had started, I believe, P4 or so, Shawarma was P2. Was it Shawarma? No, it was Jesus P2, that's right. As Deathwing looking for a move into turn 1 on that of Solar is unable to do so. Got too caught up thinking of the positions lost when we can just pull that up. Yeah, Jesus losing out 4 positions, Shawarma 3, and Wingless 1. All 3 drivers showing some good pace in qualifying. So my cats are going animal right now. Jesus holding through in the DRS train, still at threat to Mika behind if he makes another mistake. Did make a mistake, and the Ferrari did get through as he is just all over the back end of this Ferrari as he gave him a big tap. Thankfully, both drivers were able to keep it clean, but that puts him at threat to the Mercedes behind. Mika looking to go around the outside of the hairpin. Is unable to do so as it seems. Has he done it? He has. Very nice move from him, taking that position from Jesus after he sent it a little bit too hard into the back of the Ferrari, who said that if he made another mistake he would be at threat to Miko, and that is exactly what we have seen. Deathwing still looking for a position on Solar. As we saw in T2, some drivers did opt for a 2-stop and others a 1-stop, so we'll see what these higher skill drivers choose to do. Deathwing all over the back end of Solar once again coming through the main straight. We will see if he's able to get it done this time into turn 1. Solar with what appears to be lower wings for this race is still holding on to P3 in the last podium position for the first round of T1 as Jesus found his way through Miko into turn 1. Miko with a switchback into turn 2 as they will go side by side for the beginning of the S's. Jesus will take back the position. Great racing from the 2 of them there. Deathwing unable to find a position on Solar, still hanging out to him. We saw that the undercut through Japan was pretty powerful, and we might be seeing that again, especially with a DRS train like this. Miko making a mistake, finds himself out of DRS. Oh, Jesus ahead will have to close that gap quite quickly if he wants to stay in the DRS train. Ardent Prentice still hanging on to that 2-second gap to Zizan, putting him in the running for the lead of this race if he makes a mistake. This is great stuff being shown from these 2 drivers. Absolute clean, pure pace racing. Zizan actually not deploying any battery right now. And there it is. Okay, he's at 100%. I didn't know if he was doing like a 0 ERS challenge or something. We see him do last to first and stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure if he was just doing a no battery challenge, but he has finally turned it on. As Ardent Prentice actually closed up the gap by 6/10 since we've closed in on this fight. Looking out back, Deathwing a lot closer on Solar. Might have made a mistake. This field much closer together this time, heading into the main straight and into the braking zone. A 10th separating them as the Ferrari looks for a move on Deathwing, sends it down the inside where he shouldn't. Deathwing keeps it going, thankfully, and the Ferrari loses out of position to McLaren, where Deathwing might have had a position though. He is off the back foot of Solar. Solar will be looking at that, thankfully, and Deathwing will certainly be clipping that, I think. Jesus getting back through the Ferrari as Wingless and Shawarma into turn 1 are side by side. Wingless is ahead through turn 1 and 2. Shawarma unable to fight back for the position. Miko finding himself back on scene after this field fought with each other. These guys now almost 10 seconds off of P2 on lap 8 of the race. That's absolutely insane, the amount of pace that P1 and P2 have. Solar doing an excellent job, making absolutely no mistakes so far, holding on to the final podium position. Deathwing with the McLaren closely behind will be looking to try and get the move done finally and pull this DRS train even further away from himself. I'm not quite sure what you want to do if you're in this DRS train, because in my opinion, I'm worried that I wouldn't have the pace to keep the drivers behind. I might just hold this out until the pit window. I think the only driver that might have enough pace to take the lead of this DRS train and hold it might be Jesus. He had a lot of pace through qualifying and could definitely hold this DRS train. I'm not quite sure if Deathwing could. He wasn't able to find the pace through that of qualifying, but he has definitely shown up here today for the race. Much closer on Solar this time around and wasn't taken out into the chicane. Solar, though, just showing superiority on that exit of that corner compared to that Deathwing, which was able to keep him in the lead of this short squabble. As we see at the end of the straight, Wingless and Shawarma are slowly pulling themselves back on the scene for the fight for P3. As Deathwing closes in through the S's with nowhere to go around that of the V-Carb ahead. Artem Princess losing out a second to that of Season ahead. Season pulling away, possibly heading into the first pit window. Like I said, we might see a change up in 1 and 2 stop strategies. So we have a yellow flag being thrown for Shawarma and the S's. Shawarma off through the S's and the Haas, just having a abysmal weekend so far. Deathwing still closing on the V-Carb with absolutely nowhere to go as it stands. He is saving out the battery a bit more this time. They are about equal on the ERS to be able to deploy, but one of them will have the slipstream and one of them will have lower wings. It's quite a Zen moment-esque of racing between these two as it stands, but he does have Jesus tucked in tightly to that Red Bull, who might be looking for a chance to overtake, but Deathwing is able to keep it clean through that corner and pull away nicely from the McLaren. McLaren all over the Red Bull now, is looking to get through. After starting P2 and tumbling down the order, he might have it here. He is also running the hard tire compared to Deathwing's medium, so this might be the changeover point that we are seeing as Jesus is through for P4. Deathwing looking to fight back, but has not enough front end grip in those medium tires to be able to fight. Jesus now back on scene to the V-Carb ahead as the DRS train holds. The Ferrari behind that of Deathwing is also on the hard tires, so we might see Deathwing lose out another position as Wingless is the first in the pits, with Salikius following suit. Critically, Miko also running the hard tires, so I think the only people on the medium tires in the DRS train is the leader, Solar, and Deathwing, who just lost one position, might be at threat to lose a second. As Jesus looks to send a dummy to Solar, he's looking to make this move as quick as possible on the V-Carb, giving him a shove, so the V-Carb couldn't carry enough speed through that corner. That slowed up Deathwing a bit, and he has the Ferrari looking for a move, but not enough pace to do so. Are we going to see a 2 or a 1 stop from the drivers? P2 running mediums, P1 also running mediums with a huge front lock into the final chicane. See what the guys behind pit 2, Wingless pitting for hard, Salikius pitting for new mediums. As we see Miko out back looking for a move on the Ferrari, both running the hard tire. Miko trying to send down the inside, just didn't have enough, and the Ferrari stays ahead. As we see Deathwing into the pits, Solar not in the pits, should be an easy overtake for Jesus coming down the main straight. As the V-Carb does not move, he forces the McLaren to the inside. They go wheel to wheel. He gets shoved off a bit, and that might put him at threat to the Ferrari. The Ferrari down the inside looks to have the move done. He does. That is Solar P5 losing out 2 positions already before the end of Sector 1, with Miko looking down as these mediums just have no pace left in them. This is absolutely terrible for Miko's chance at holding onto that DRS train, as these two are fighting it out through Sector 1, a very hard sector to fight it out. This should be a very good undercut for Deathwing over that of at least Solar, if not this entire DRS pack. Miko looking to get through. Solar having absolutely no grip in those tires, needs to just let the Mercedes through and try and follow through, but he is absolutely fighting for position on track. As the Mercedes finally gets through, I think. No, the V-Carb with the lower wings is able to fight back on these worn tires. They are rubbing wheel to wheel through the square corner. I think it should be Miko with the better grip, and yes, it is him, but he has lost 2.5 seconds to the group of cars ahead. That is absolutely critical to the DRS train for P3 in this race. Deathwing coming out behind Shawarma by 2.8 seconds. Should be looking at a good undercut. He has pitted for another set of mediums, so he is looking to do a 2-stop through this race. We'll see if Solar follows suit for a 2-stop. As we do see Solar into the pits after finding that he has no creep over the hards. He keeps it clean into the pit entry and does not pick up a time penalty. Ferrari challenging the McLaren for P3 takes the podium position into turns 1 and 2 and keeps it clean. So now Jesus chasing down the Ferrari head. So where does Solar come out on track? I believe Deathwing should have quite an easy undercut. Like I said, he does by quite a margin. I think Wingless might also have Solar. Will be tight on the exit, and he just barely does. Like I said, that was critical for Solar to make the decision to stay out or come in, and he chose to stay out and lost 5 seconds to Deathwing. That is absolutely insane. Deathwing looking for a good undercut on possibly your mom and Jesus too if they cannot stick to a one-stop. Jesus looking to take back P3 from your mom. Ardent Prentice falling off even further to that as he's in by 6 seconds now. These two looking to possibly do a one-stop. Should have it safely secured. They are just fighting each other. As Deathwing makes his way through Shawarma, quick work for the Red Bull with the tire difference that he has. P3 falling 13 seconds off of the front two. As Jesus looks to the inside through the fast left-hander, I think he has moved on, but the Ferrari will have a chance to fight back in the braking zone. He chooses not, backs off into the braking zone. A very wise call from the Ferrari. That is a tough one to send on one tires as Ardent is into the pits first, looking for a possible undercut on that is Zezin. We'll see if Zezin goes for the one-stop or the two-stop and where Ardent Prentice will come out. He might finally add himself some wheel-to-wheel action through this race, as he comes out behind Miko, who has yet to stop on the hard tire. As the Ferrari has fallen off the back end of the McLaren who started P2 is looking to fight back for his podium position. So he is pulling away rapidly from the Ferrari, almost opening the gap outside of the DRS window. Back Ardent 2 seconds off of that of Miko. And Deathwing 10 seconds off of Ardent. Critically, the Solar is again still almost 5 seconds off of Deathwing after the pit stops, where he was ahead of Deathwing by some margin heading into that stop window. But like I said, he didn't come in when Deathwing did and waited an extra lap, paid the price. So we see Wingless and Shawarma battling it out, and I say battling out, but I think it was just Shawarma bottling it, as it was just the McLaren going through, now putting himself at threat to Solar behind Shawarma, who showed some good pace. He's absolutely struggling through this race as it stands. Solar looking to have the move done quite early on as they go side by side. It seems to be Shawarma fighting it out. Yes, it was, but Solar had the grip on those new hards and makes easy work of the Haas. Ardent Prentice closing the gap by over a second on Miko so far. Miko, who is still running on the hards they started on, should not be that hard to overtake. The tire difference between these two will be massive. If you are looking for the one-stop window and you started on the hards, I think you're looking to pit quite soon. Season critically has done 14 of 27 laps on these medium tires. He could have pit quite a minute ago and had a decent enough split, but he is still running on these medium tires. Ardent Prentice on the back end of Miko now might have the move done mid-lap before Miko has a chance to pit. As Shawarma is into the pits now for the Haas. Deathwing, who is looking at a two-stop, should have a undercut of the driver's head, but will have another stop to make. So we will see where that puts him when all is said and done. Ardent coming off the back foot of Miko through Sector 2 to the understeer. He's looking to fight back and out of the position through Sector 3. As we see Season after 15 laps come into the pits on those medium tires. I can't imagine the percentage on them. It has to be like 110%. But he has somehow pulled that off. As we see the McLaren staying out and possibly the Ferrari. Yes, the Ferrari also staying out. Does Miko stay out? He does, and that puts him at easy target to that of Zezin. Ardent. Ardent is through. Zezin comes out ahead of Ardent. Ardent, who was looking at possible undercut, has closed the gap quite a lot but Zezin on fresh hards should be able to pull away once he gets them fired up. But this does put Arden on scene if he is able to push enough and put himself into DRS before those hards get warmed up. He'll be able to be putting pressure back onto the race leader. 1.4 is the gap. He needs to push as hard as he can while he has the advantage over the Aston Martin ahead. As we see behind Miko going a bit wide on those used hards. Zezin, who I've spectated Zezin before, and notably he almost always locks his front left into a heavy corner, like every single time. And I don't really understand how. But he somehow makes it work and has pulled 3/10 on cold hards to that of Ardent. But critically, he is behind the Ferrari now of your mum. Your mum looking to be as fast as possible to Zezin to hold him up for Ardent. As he does so, puts that Ferrari in the middle of the track, which will put Ardent right back on scene. As he looks to have the move done on the outside to an inside overtake through the braking zone, he has the move done. But that put Ardent back on scene a tad bit, but it doesn't seem to be enough to make a difference. Ferrari putting himself in the middle of the track to try and challenge the race leader for position, as Miko is the first in the pits on the hard tire. And he picks up a 10-second time penalty doing so. As Deathwing gets an easy undercut on him. Like I said, he still has one stop left to go. No safety cars or VSCs as it stands, as it seems Solar makes his way around the outside of Wingless in the McLaren. This seems to be a beautiful move, but the switchback of the McLaren is powerful, and he holds onto the position. Very nicely done from these two through turns 1 and 2. Arden Prentice on the back foot of the same Ferrari that blocked that of Zezin. He is now holding up the Haas for position on track. Ferrari, who has yet to make a stop, holding up P2, who has made all of his stops. Solar on the back foot of Wingless, still looking to take back that position after going an extra lap on his mediums and paying the price of Mega for it. Solar, who is on the hards and could take them to the end, as Wingless makes a mistake or is shunted off track by that of Solar. Not quite sure which, but either way he is off track and Solar's through. Arden tucked into the Ferrari, looking to back off into the sharp left-hander. He should have the same exact move done that Zezin did, but the Ferrari of your mom is still putting up a fight as Jesus is into the pits, and Zezin sets the fastest lap of the session with a 29.5 on the hard tire. The Ferrari still fighting it out for position to P2, and Ardent is through. A little bit of action for him throughout this race. As Jesus is into the pits, Deathwing will get through easily, but has still yet to make the mandatory tire compound change swap that he needs after opting for a 2-stop. Solar could go to the end on these hards, but we will see if he is able to manage it. How many laps has he done so far? He's done 5 laps so far with 10 remaining. He could definitely get it done, as Zezin did do 15 laps on mediums. It would be Solar doing 15 on the hards. He could definitely do it, but it is a large split in the laps from the mediums to the hards. Jesus coming out of the pits behind that of Solar, and we'll be looking for that on-track position. Deathwing sitting P4, but after his last stop would find himself behind that of Miko, I think. The Ferrari, who has yet to make a stop, sitting on the last podium position as it stands, with Ardent 5 seconds off of that of Zezin. Zezin just showing ultimate dominance throughout this race. I think we'll have to find a way to tie one hand behind Zezin's back. He could limit him to no ERS. That would be quite interesting to see if he could still pull it off. Maybe an extra point if he can. No ERS for the entire race, and he still wins or gets pole. That would be something impressive, as the Ferrari finally making a stop, 18 laps on the medium or hard tire compound. He'll be boxing for the mediums, and we'll see where he comes out. Deathwing gets through easily. Driver on the 2-stop. As Deathwing comes through, the Ferrari is coming out what looks to be P6 fighting, no, it is Jesus fighting the V-Carb for position on track. These two duking it out for a provisional P4, which will be the final podium position once Deathwing makes his stop. Jesus, who started P2, is looking to have the V-carb. We have seen these two duking it out for a majority of the race, and they are still not done yet. As Wingless makes another stop for the race, he finds himself P8. Jesus and Solar, who are still fighting it out. Jesus finds his way through that of Solar. Deathwing still sitting P3, yet to make a stop, looking to take these tires as long as possible to wait for the other drivers to make mistakes so he doesn't come out behind them. Ardent still hanging out to P2 with Zezin with a strong P1 using almost no ERS as it stands. With all the drivers settled in, with all that of Deathwing, I think Deathwing started on the mediums, and you pit for mediums. With 7 laps to go, is yet to make a stop, so you will probably be looking at pitting for the soft tire come the end of this race. So we see Solar is falling off the back end of Jesus, fighting out for a provisional P3 once Deathwing makes a stop. Deathwing now taking these tires along, I think would come out P6 behind the Ferrari, if not behind Miko for P7. Wingless, who made an extra stop, found himself behind that of the Mercedes. Sharma, who has had an abysmal race so far, unable to keep on track, and a very dirtied up Haas, might I say. That thing definitely needs a wash as the Williams of Salikius comes into the pits. Notably, Deathwing holding out the gap to P2. We have seen that gap grow and grow and grow throughout the race, but so far on these Mega Worn mediums, he's actually holding out the gap to the front two and actually closing it as I talk. That is quite impressive, might I say, from the driver. As Outback drivers have settled into position, except for Solar, who looks to have dropped off the pace mega now, and is at threat to the Ferrari behind. This could be the changeover point of going from hard to medium and medium to hard. We said that it would be difficult for him to stretch these hards to the end, and we are seeing the difficulties start to wear through. As the Ferrari is now on scene for P5. As Miko is into the pits once more, he will come out behind that of the other drivers. So it's interesting to see him come into the pits again. He did start on the hards and then pit to the hards, which I actually find quite interesting. I thought he did a hard to medium one stop. He's going for the 2-stop. Deathwing still yet to pit. The gap is growing ahead. as Miko will come out P9. He is serving a 10-second time penalty for speed in the pit lane from his first stop. As Ferrari still on the back end of the V-Carb for P5. Jesus now almost to that of Deathwing, who has yet to make another stop. Deathwing surely looking to make that stop soon after Miko has come into pits for a second stop. He will for sure come out just P6. Had he been able to make the one stop work, he might have been able to go to the end on his tires with a one stop for P3. Do see the Ferrari still closing in on the worn tires of the V-Carb ahead. Hopefully, for Solar's sake, he will be able to fend him off as Deathwing finally comes into the pits, and we will finally see where he comes out. As we see the V-Carb and Ferrari come down the main straight, they get through that of the Red Bull, and I think Wingless will be too far off to also get through. So Deathwing will come out P6. V-Carb and Ferrari still fighting it out through the S's, unable to find positions changed. Looking at the drivers, 3 drivers running on the softs now, Deathwing, Miko, and Salikius all running soft tire compounds. Ferrari all over the back end of the V-Carb as he is struggling on that grip on those old hard tires. As Deathwing comes out 12.7 seconds off the back end of this fight here. I don't think those soft tires will be able to catch up unless these two make an insane mistake, which I think will give Jesus a pretty comfortable P3 after starting P2, falling out to P8, and has made his way back through the field for a P3 finish. He is that of 12.6 seconds off of the front two runners, as in, like I said, just having an utterly complete control over this race weekend as it stands. Our apprentice keeping it very clean, still keeping himself on scene if that is Zezen were to make a big mistake. Out back, the Ferrari looking for a move through the final chicane, puts the V-Carb a little bit wide, it looks like, and finds his way through that of the whole tires of the V-Carb. Solar down P5 behind. That's not what Deathwing would have wanted to see. Would want to see a big shunt from the two ahead. As he did close up, he is closing up the gap quite rapidly. Like I said, it won't be enough to the end of this race. As the Ferrari picks up a 3-second time penalty, if Solar can stay within that, he will find that position over him. Very few time penalties being handed out this time around Japan. So very nice to see that the driver is able to be consistent this time in T1 compared to T2. But critical for the Ferrari to now find the 3-second gap in these 4 last laps. I think he should be able to have it done as he has stretched the gap to 1.2 in just this little bit of time. As Solar is pushing like an animal to try and stay within it, it looks to be. But we will see at the end of the race if he is able to keep that gap down. Deathwing still pushing like an animal as well behind these two, trying to put himself on scene if possible. Out back, no fights going on with the back end drivers. Solar still holding out the gap to the Ferrari ahead to try and get that off-track position. As we enter the little bit of closing stages of the race, take a look at the positions change. We have Ardent up 1 position over Jesus, who lost out 1. The Ferrari of your mom is up 2 positions, with Solar losing out 1. Deathwing is up 3 positions. Wingless is up 1. Shawarma has lost out 3 positions. Miko has lost out 2. And the Williams has stayed where he started as he lets through the McLaren. As it looks to me, Miko might have had a big shunt. Miko is absolutely blundered into the wall and has a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits as he's trying to get the car into the pits, it looks, and has been DNF'd from the session right at the pits. Not quite sure what happened. We'll see if that brings out a safety car or not due to where it's at and everything. Not quite sure what happened to the Mercedes there. It looks to be it won't be bringing out a safety car. Trying to find a car to ride along with to see him. I think Jesus will be the next car to pass him. See what the game is deciding with that. And it has removed the car without taking a VSC or a safety car. As Solar is still holding out to the gap to the car ahead. That is critical for his race with only a few laps remaining to hang out to the 3-second gap. As the gap now almost 3 seconds between the Ferrari and V car. Solar quickly closing the gap though to the Ferrari ahead, now under 3 seconds, what was almost 3. Leaking out ahead, 10 seconds is the gap between 2, 3, 3, and 4. It's quite a margin between all the drivers. As the Ferrari that was once challenging that of Jesus has now just fallen off. We said that Jesus would have the pace to lead the DRS train. He is certainly showing so. Solar still just barely within the 3 seconds of the car ahead for that off-track position. He has 2 laps left to complete to hold on to that position. As he has now left that 3-second window. Like I said, I think he is running a bit higher wings than other cars, so he will struggle through sectors 1 and 2, but will find the pace through sector 3. As Schwarman picks up a 10-second time penalty coming into the pits, might be looking to take fastest lap away from Zezin as he pits for Sauce at the end of this race with the pit window to the car behind. But with that 10-second time penalty, I think he should still be safe. As he comes out, he will be looking to help out his teammate Ardent in the championship fight and take away a point from Zezin. As out back, Solar is still unable to close the gap under 3 seconds to that on the Ferrari ahead. Deathwing, who was looking for a possible 2-stop overcut, has found himself 5 seconds off the car ahead with 1 lap remaining in this race. As Zezin starts the final lap with a red fuel light, as we have had absolutely 0 VSCs or safety cars. As he comes up on Shorma, who is looking to set a hot lap to take away his fastest lap away from Zezin. Jesus also closing the gap by 2 seconds to Ardent ahead since last we checked in. It's also equally opened the gap behind by an additional 2 seconds. Solar also finding himself closing the gap, and this last lap will be flat out to the end as we see Zezin come through sector 3 to try and finish off this race. Thankfully, because Shwarma will cross the line ahead of Zezin as Zezin closes off the race, he will not be auto-finished and will be able to finish out his fastest lap to try and take that away from Zezin. As Zezin crosses the line with an utter dominance victory, a pole position and victory by 14 seconds over reigning champion Ardent Prentice here in Japan. So Ardent and the Haas looks to cross the line for a strong P2. He just couldn't answer to that of Zezin here today. As Jesus, who started P2, fell to P8 on the opening lap, comes home to round off the podium with a good P3 with a tough fight through the midfield. The Ferrari of your mum is coming around to finish off behind that of Jesus and ahead of the rest of the runners. Solar unable to close the gap under 3 seconds to that of the Ferrari, will remain P5 on track. Very tight competition between them. Deathwing, the only driver of the midfield to opt for the two-stop, nearly had the guys and found himself with almost a position over the other drivers. As actually Solar somehow did close the gap. I think the Ferrari might have had 6 seconds, as he does take P4 away from the Ferrari, as Wingless crosses the line sideways, and Shawarma looks to take the fastest lap on the final lap of this race. He has 0 fuel light. Quite interesting to see from the Haas that he didn't lower his fuel almost at all. He almost followed it twice. That would have been good to see. Put up a fight for that of Ardent. We'll see if Shawarma is able to take your fastest lap. As he comes around the final corner, not deploying, and he finally hits the deploy switch. He does take, no, that was the time penalty alert. We'll see if he is able to take that. So we see the top three, Zezin with a dominant victory, Ardent with a consistent P2, and Jesus with a tough fought P3. Jesus properly winning driver of the day after that comeback, and it was Shawarma who could not take fastest lap away from Zezin. Zezin with a 29.5, Shawarma with a 31.0. Not quite sure how that one managed out, but there it is, folks. That has been your round